Hey there, it's Nolan, founder owner of Animal Lead Solutions, and today I'm here to show you why you should stop hiring more sales reps to fix an otherwise broken pipeline, and why you should instead first, okay, build the infrastructure that would keep your best closers in front of qualified buyers every single week. Okay, and I'm saying this because what I've seen most commercial equipment firms do is that they're able to reach 5 million, 10 million in revenue, but it's on the back of the owner itself. And what I mean by that is, if you're the owner, if you're the CEO, you're the founder, you've bootstrapped everything, and you've been doing this for several years, right? You're the one that's spreading word of mouth, you're the one getting referrals, you're the one that's doing the networking, you're the one that's driving the pipeline or driving the biggest projects into the business, right? You know what I mean, okay? And so eventually you would hit a ceiling, right? Wherein you can, because as the founder owner, even though you could be an A class level, S class level sales, eventually you will hit a ceiling because you can only do so much by yourself, okay? And when the pipeline thins again because you've tried removing yourself and outsourcing it, right? The first instinct is to hire more and more sales reps, right? To hire more representatives, business development, managers, essentially hunters, okay, to get leads for you, to get sales for you. But what most owners or most CEOs don't understand is that selling is actually a different thing from lead gen. And they try and compress the two, they try and, make or compress that into a single title, and they end up losing lots of money by doing that. Okay? And if you hire a sales rep, essentially that's already $7,000 to $9,000 per month just off of salaries, plus taxes, right? Tech stack, ramp time. And what I mean by ramp time is, usually it would take around 4 to 6 months to train them, maybe three, maybe two. It's awesome if you can make that, you know, shorter. But then again, it still takes them quite a while to learn the market or the territory, the product, the culture itself, adapt to everything, right? So essentially, you end up paying for, an expensive administrative prospector instead of, them actually doing the sales. And again, I'm saying this not because I'm against sales reps. I'm never against sales reps. I think sales reps are wonderful. I think we should have more of them, but they should also be utilized better, right? Because the problem is never your people, it's always your process, right? Because your reps shouldn't be just prospectors, you should be closers. And the more time they spend on the phone closing someone, or inching closer and closer into a deal, into a project, that's what they should be doing, right? But if they're spending, 70, 80% of their week just cold calling or chasing leads that would otherwise, just never even work out in the first place, that's not a sales team, okay? That's essentially just an expensive research department, right? They could be, you know, that's essentially it, right? And so that's why we do what we do, okay? I know some CEOs, some owners, or even maybe you watching this would say, oh, you just send emails, right? Oh, you just make campaigns. Oh, you just send messages to our could be prospects. How are you any different? Okay? And we're different, and that couldn't even be, farther from the truth because we build the system itself. Okay? Designed to solve the two biggest bottlenecks in equipment sales, which is inconsistency, deal flow, project flow, and low intent. Okay? So essentially, we install a system from start to finish done for you that identifies the in market window. The in market window meaning buying intent, right? Expansion signals. Did they expand recently? Do they have a new location? They could need more equipments there, right? Are they currently hiring? If they're hiring for more, engineers, more people for maintenance, it could be that, some machineries, some equipments are going to break, right? Let's replace it. Let's do it for them. That sort of stuff. Okay? And so just industry specific growth signals that we can use to make our outreach or outbound as relevant as possible. That's what we do. So if they have no business of even, doing any sort of project with you, we don't reach out to them. Okay? Because that's, one of the most brought up questions is, like, what if we come up as spam, or what if we blah blah blah. We don't do that because again, we make sure that it first, number one, is relevant, right? Number two, they fit your ideal customer profile. Okay? And we do this without extra headcount, right? You would even pay lower, right, than an average sales rep. There's no management overhead because again, we've done this before. We've done this for several equipment companies like EcoGate, HHO Atlanta, and this even works for non-commercial equipment firms because we've also seen it perform, right? Like Picker AI and Design Your Monday, okay, and a bunch of many more other companies, okay. And so this is for you if you sell commercial, industrial, fleet, or B2B equipment in general that's high ticket, okay. Two, you have a sales rep or a sales team. Three, your average deal size makes one closed deal meaningful, typically around more than $10,000 per month, or I mean $10,000 AOV in general. That would make this very, very meaningful because, again, if you close that deal and when we get you that deal, it ROIs pretty fast. Okay? And your reps are still prospecting or chasing unqualified leads. So, meaning if you do have a sales rep or a sales team, mostly what they do is they prospect on LinkedIn, they send emails, they send, messages that should otherwise be done, at a different part of the process, and they should be selling more and they should be closing more. They should be just, meeting people. If we can fill their calendars every day with meetings that are set to, eventually turn out into projects, better, right? That's what we want them to do. Sales reps should be selling, right? And so you also want to sell pipeline without hiring more people because hiring more people at this stage, especially if the pipeline is still broken or we don't have enough qualified leads going in yet, just means that we're increasing and increasing our overhead. So another 7,000, another 9,000 per month. You hire one sales rep, two sales rep, three sales rep. It ends up being a big headache, and you have to manage everyone, right? So this is not for low ticket sellers, okay? So if your product is, I would say, below 5,000, 6,000 per deal or per project, this won't work. Okay, that's just how it is. Okay, it's better to hire someone else, hire a different agency. We don't do that here because we actually want to establish like a long-term relationship with all of the clients that we sign, right? That we work with because we, like most people, they try and scale horizontally. So meaning what they want to do is in order for them to make as much profit as possible, they just need to get more and more people. So they scale this way, which is what we do is we scale vertically. So we increase the value, we increase the amount of things that we do for the client, we increase the amount of, you know, essentially value that we deliver for them. Okay? And this is not for one person operations, this is not for companies that are just looking for more traffic because again, we don't deliver just traffic, we deliver how many qualified leads are there, how many did you close, how many of them showed up, how many were we able to convert. That's essentially the key metrics that we're looking at. Okay, because the reality that most owners don't want to admit, right, is that hiring another sales rep doesn't fix the pipeline issue itself, or it doesn't fix the lead gen issue or whatever could be wrong with your pipeline. It amplifies them because if you have one sales rep that's doing 70%, you know, just prospecting, outsourcing, and you already know that you're losing out on that one sales rep that you hired and are paying per month, what happens if you hire two of those people, three of those? What would happen if you have an entire team of those people? right? Because essentially at that point, if you have more reps, you just have more idle time, like more time for them to do research, right? More time for them to just not really close. They could be closing, but it's in our best interest, especially as business owners, for them to spend as much time selling as possible, right? That's how we can utilize the sales reps. Okay, that could also mean that more follow-ups are missed. Okay, essentially more revenue leaking through the cracks. Okay, and it's because the fastest growing equipment companies don't scale the headcount first, they scale the system first, right? So they make sure that there's a steady pipeline, there's a steady flow of qualified buyers first, and if they don't have that, they try and establish systems to get that first. Okay, and again, we've seen this happen. We do this for ourselves, we do this for other people that are also in the same exact niche, same exact industry as you, right? And so what tends to happen is it's a system versus headcount sort of battle. Okay, because if you hire a rep, as I mentioned earlier, you just only add fixed overhead. But if you install a system first, okay, you create a scalable asset that you're able to control the variables without adding more overhead, or essentially without adding more expenses first, right? If your leads are inconsistent, right, adding a rep is like putting a faster engine in a car with no fuel, right? No matter how good the sales rep is, if they don't have deals to close, you know, eventually they will burn out and they wouldn't have any, and this also works counterproductively for them because again, if they don't have deals to close, they don't have leads to nurture, they don't feel, what do you call this, like they'll miss out on commission, right? They lose out on momentum, that sort of stuff. And that maybe that doesn't matter with startup companies or with smaller firms, but it definitely matters with bigger ones, or especially the mid-level ones that are looking to scale past where they currently are. Okay, and our system provides the fuel. Okay, when your reps focus 100% of their energy in closing rather than prospecting, what you will find is your revenue scales without your overhead spiraling out of control, right? So essentially, we build the outbound system to reach out to your qualified buyers. More sales rep selling time. If they could, they should be selling all the time, which would mean, you know, higher volume of closing costs, higher close rates because they're able to focus on just closing itself, which eventually leads to revenue growth. You reinvest it back, then the cycle goes on and on and on, right? And so, why partner with me, and why am I, essentially just telling you this? I'm telling you this because I've spent 5+ years in the lead gen slash sales space with over, I'm pretty sure, more than $1 million in generated revenue for different B2B companies, because this is just what I do. And I work high ticket with a lot of companies. Even just one closed deal is a big like ROI for them. So let's say for example you have a high ticket product. Let's say for example an installation for you would end up being 100,000, right? If we close just 100,000, that money just circles back. It becomes so much. Your margins are so high. From there, you can just continue to reinvest, do the same thing over and over again, right? And I've seen that happen. Okay, and I try and always make other owners understand that I don't do general lead gen. This is not just sending messages. We build the system itself, from outreach, right, from the infrastructure itself to follow-ups, right, the best case scenarios that you should give them, making your offer, right, making your copy, basically everything. Okay, I specialize in the high ticket commercial sectors where the sales cycles are long, the buyers are skeptical, okay, and the products are complex. Okay, I understand that in your business, one missed follow up on a six-figure quote is a massive loss, which is, again, this is very, very true, right? So my goal is to ensure your sales team never has to guess where their next commission is coming from again, as I've mentioned earlier, right? Momentum and, just overall drive is a big thing, especially if you're a mid-level firm looking to scale past where you're currently at, especially if you're competing with a company that's, it could be as big as you or bigger than you have to get this edge, right? So if you're considering adding another rep to the payroll this quarter, it doesn't hurt to talk first. Okay, I'm here. I can walk you through the entire math itself. I can even fine tune it specifically for your specific company, for your specific niche, right? Because I make a hiring versus systems breakdown using your actual numbers. And then from there, we can compare the ROI of a new hire against the ROI of our automated engine. Because again, even if we don't work together, you'll leave the call with a clear map of your acquisition costs, and I promise you that.